And welcome back to my yearly box office report, end of the year box office report. Who won, who lost. I do this at the end. I've been doing this now for about 2 or 3 years, this particular type of video, where I basically compile the information of the box office from the end of the year for each studio, and I figure out who was the ultimate winners and who was the ultimate losers. Now, a couple things we need to go over right now. The way I do it, I only factor in the money that was made during the year. So any money that, say, Rise of Skywalker or Jumanji has made past 2019, so anything that's making like today or tomorrow or anything like that in 2020, does not go towards the movie. It just is what it made that year. So films have probably gone to be profitable past the 2019 marker, but during the year 2019, they had yet to be profitable. Also, we have to factor in that, we have to understand that I am doing this with pencil and paper. I am finding these online the best I can with the information I have available. A budget, that's pretty easy to find. You can find that without too much difficulty. A marketing budget, though, production for what the movie films on versus the marketing budget, that's a lot more difficult to find out. You'll actually be hard pressed unless they openly say what it is, and they don't have to even tell you what the production budget is. It's very hard to find out what the marketing budget is if you're not in the know. Finally, we have to address one of the big elephants in the room, and the elephant happens to have mouse ears. Fox being acquired by Disney this year does put a little bit of a question mark on what do I do with Fox on this list. Fox for a long time was a major player in these games, but they're gone now. So, okay, they're not 100% gone, but they have been absorbed into Disney. So anything they made, any movie that after the merger of Disney that Fox put out under the Fox logo, and there's still movies that are doing that too. There's still movies being made under Fox. I'm going to get to those movies when we talk about Disney. It's got to be counted towards Disney because Disney owns them. Now, any movie that came out last year prior to Disney acquiring Fox would go to Fox. But the problem with that is Fox isn't on this list because when they ultimately did that, because Disney, they merged with Disney. Disney bought them out around April, so that's pretty early in the year. If it was maybe like June, July, August, maybe then I could still include them as their own company. But even then, that probably wouldn't have been smart because when I did the math, nothing, and I mean nothing, not even Alita Battle Angel, and I liked Alita Battle Angel, nothing they did made money this year at all. At all. So, yeah, and that hurt, trust me, it's no surprise, I think, who number one's going to be, but that hurt Disney quite a bit. But let's get into this first, right off the bat. There's 6 spots for 6 major studios: Paramount, Lionsgate, Warner Brothers, Sony, Disney, and Universal. So who came in last place? Who came at number 1? Who's got honestly, I count it as now the 4 place medals: the platinum medal for the number 1, the gold medal for number 2, silver gets to the 3, and bronze goes to the 4th. And then you get participation trophies for your 4 and 5 spot, or 5 and 6 spot. So who came in number 6? Who was the poor underdog this year? Well, that has to go to our good friends at Paramount. So Paramount did not, and let me repeat that, did not have a good year financially. Now, keep in mind, while my math is right, the numbers probably aren't. I'm doing the best I can with a little bit of information I have. But this general figure is probably somewhere where they are. Give or take 10 or 15 million. So Paramount had a couple decent hits. I think their biggest hit, frankly, was Rocketman, which I loved Rocketman. Rocketman, frankly, I think Rocketman's on my top this year. I gotta double check what my list looks like for this year in terms of my top films. Actually, I think I got it right here now. I say it out loud. Is Rocketman in my top this year? Is Rocketman in my top this year? No, I don't have it right now. I'll figure it out later. I know I wrote it down though. So, yeah, Rocketman netted them about $50 million. And then you have things like Crawl, which was a nice little surprise, according to people who saw it. So, it was about $27.5 million they got from that. They got about $35 from Pet Sematary. So they had a couple really decent hits this year. Nothing huge, but nice little hits. And if they had continued on with just some small wins instead of giant losses, they might have been able to avoid being in the bottom spot. Unfortunately, they had a couple misses, but they had 2 monstrous hits or misses this year. One was Wonder Park. Wonder Park was made on roughly $90 million, probably about a $50 marketing budget, $50 million marketing budget. The film went on to make $120 million. The film on $140 million altogether needs to make about $210 to break even. That film ultimately lost them about $70 million when it's all said and done. Or $60 million when it's all said and done. Because you take the third out, it's about made on $80 million. And then you do the math on that real quick. What's 80? What is 140 minus 80? That's 60 million. So they lost about 60 million on that film. But that is nothing compared to Gemini Man, which lost double that. Gemini Man is one of the few that I actually found out what the marketing budget for that was for, about 100 million. Film was made 138 million. That's close to 240. That means the film would have had to hit about 360 just to break even. And it didn't even come close. It came to about half that, like literally 173. The film lost about $222 million. So when you break all those numbers down, the film, Paramount not only is in last place, Paramount's the only guy on this list, only person on this list who lost money this year. They lost about $74.5 million, give or take. But they did not have a good year this year. They did not. That said, moving on to someone who actually did have a good year this year, in the number 5 spot, we have Lionsgate. Now, Lionsgate had their misses as well. They lost about $70 million on Hellboy, which is probably their biggest loss. Bombshell lost about $40 million when I checked, but Bombshell's still in theaters, and Bombshell's getting at least some awards consideration, at least for acting. So it'll probably still be sticking around and hopefully closing that gap to some extent. But yeah, Bombshell isn't the problem. Hellboy was the problem. Hellboy made on $50 million, made probably a $50 million marketing budget. You're looking at about $100 million in total. So 150 is what it has to make. It only made 44 million. That's about a $70 million loss there. That's unfortunate. Fortunately, they had several films this year that netted them a solid little bit of money, particularly in things like Knives Out. Again, still in theaters, still making a lot of money. And John Wick Chapter 3, both of which netted around $68 million for them. Then Tyler Perry's Medea Family Funeral, that's always had a core audience, so that was hopefully guaranteed to make a little money, and it did. 5 Feet Apart, a low-budget kind of Nicholas Sparks type film, and that made them a little bit of money. Angel Has Fallen was able to net them a little bit of money. So, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I kind of liked. So that ultimately gave them pretty much a near opposite number to Paramount at about $75.5 million, which is fantastic for them. It really is. So great on them. Now, in this case, the bronze medal goes to, weirdly enough, Sony. Now, Sony still had a great year. And you'll know immediately the difference between the top 4 and the bottom 2 as soon as I go over it. But Sony had actually a pretty solid year. Now, they took a couple of hits. Every studio is going to take a hit during the year. So they took a couple of hits. Little Women has gone on to make more money, but at the time I had done the research, at the time I looked up what they had made by the end of the year, and they had lost about $30 million. They also lost some money with Charlie's Angels, not to be surprised. But frankly, one of the big benefits for Sony is they didn't take, the losses they took were not huge. They were not big losses at all. So that is something that definitely goes into Sony's favor. And that it just is compiled by the fact that things like Escape Room made $9 million, made $150 million. It's about $85 million when you do the math and profit. Things like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood made a good $68 million. Little films made, like Zombieland 2, made about $8 million. Not huge, but it made $8 million. Jumanji, just by the end of the year, had made, profit-wise, $101 million. And then the big one, Spider-Man, they made $445 million. That ultimately gave them a number around $627 million. Now, again, not an actual, just a ballpark figure. But that's a fantastic number to end the year on. Sony has really been able to pull themselves out of the slump. Paramount, unfortunately, is starting to look like Sony did a while ago, and that's not good. So hopefully Paramount is going to be able to dig themselves out of the heap. Get themselves and put themselves back on the pedestal. I'll have to check what Paramount's pictures these year look like, honestly. But then you go into the number 3, the silver medal, if you will, in this case. And the silver medal this year, honestly, goes to Universal. Universal had a surprisingly good year this year. Now, again, like any film studio, they had some losses, as I said. They actually lost. Okay, let me put it this way. They're going to lose a lot on this film. It's fortunately made more now. It's made about $10 million more now, last I checked, than it did when... oh, my battery's low, too. Fortunately, this shouldn't take me that much longer. If we shouldn't... Cats currently has lost them about $118 million as of the end of 2019. And Cats is probably going to honestly lose them at least 100, maybe a little less, anywhere from 90 to 100. I think that's the amount they're going to have to take a wash on this. I'll have a better idea tomorrow when I look at the box office. But anything besides that was pretty much a minor hit. There was no big hits this year in terms of losses. In terms of gains, they made $115 million on Glass, $117 million on How to Train Your Dragon. Us netted them $130 million. Mom made about $25 million, which is not bad on a small budget. $26 million for Secret Life of Pets. Hobbs and Shaw netted them about $156 million. So, yeah, I mean, and smaller, like yesterday, hit about $55 million. So they had a lot of success this year. It's just a matter of they took a big hit with Cats. Cats is the big thing that really put them down. Otherwise, they'd probably be the second highest grossing studio of the year. But yeah, I mean, good. They had a fantastic year. Good for them. But they are not the number 3, or no, they're not the number 2 or the number 3. No. No, we've only got 2 big boys that are dominating the box office this week, or this year. Was it Warner Brothers, or was it... Well, who the hell do you think was number 1? First off, though, number 2 goes to Warner Brothers. They, again, like everyone, took a couple hits, but none of their hits were huge. They had a couple, like, moderate-sized hits in terms of losses. Richard Jewell, when I looked at the end of the year results, had lost that $48 million. The Good Liar, Good Liar roughly broke about even, luckily. But Motherless Brooklyn, Dr. Sleep, The Kitchen, these are all films that lost them, roughly speaking, $30 to $40 million. Fortunately, though, they had a couple of solid hits with Shazam, Curse of La Llorona, Detective Pikachu, Annabelle Comes Home, it netted them over $100 million. And we got to talk about, It Chapter 2 made about 136. Nowhere near as much a profit as the original did, which was made on less and made a lot more. But also, this one wasn't as good. But then Joker, being the number 1 R-rated film of all time, highest grossing, first one to be $1 billion, netted them about $534 million. When it's all said and done, the film made about $668 million for the film. The studio made about $668 million this year. That is fantastic. Absolutely. Hands off to them. Hats off to them. All that. Pop open the champagne. But let's be flat out honest right here, right now. We all know who won this year. It was the mouse. It was Disney. They won. You want to know how much they won by? This is where the disparity between the number 1 spot and everything else comes in. Remember the disparity we had between the 2 bottom spots, negative 74 and about 75 million. Then you had the middle 3 spots there, which were anywhere between 5 to 600 million. Well, the disparity with Disney is... Okay, so let's actually quickly go over what Disney took a hit on. Because of Fox, the merger, they took a hit on quite a bit of things. They took a hit on Spies in the Sky, still in theaters, still making money, but that film's made on $100 million, probably has $100 million in marketing. So they took a big hit on that. About $169 million hit. 111 hit on Terminator. That's Fox. That's under Fox. They also took a huge hit on Ad Astra, $96 million. They took a huge hit on Dumbo, which was one of their own films. They took a huge hit on X-Men Dark Phoenix, about $132 million. So they lost, actually, quite a bit through Disney alone, or through Fox alone. Disney, they would have pretty much only lost a little bit with Dumbo, but Fox really hurt them bad this year. But fortunately, they had this little thing called Endgame, which when take the third out, take the money they spent on it out of the equation, still made them $1.3 billion in profit. Do you know how many films you can make on that? You can make an entire year's worth of films on that. Then you factor in Lion King, made over $1.6 billion, $644 million in profit. Captain Marvel, $437 million in profit. Aladdin, $367 million in profit. Toy Story 4, $365 million in profit. Frozen 2, at the time I had looked up the information, made $519 in profit. And then Maleficent, Star Wars at the time, it only made about $42 million in profit. That number's clearly gone up quite a bit. Disney's overall total, and I ran the numbers that they made this year, again, give or take, obviously, over $3 billion in profit on just their movies alone. Now, I hear there's some other numbers, too, like what they made domestically and what they made internationally is like $11 million. But when you have to take out the numbers for that, it's actually obviously what they actually made financially, given what they spent on the film and all things along those lines. So, yes, Disney had a very good year this year. It's going to be interesting to see what this next year is going to look like for them. It's going to be interesting to see what this next year looks like for everyone. Because already, like, we got The Grudge that came out. The Grudge, I think, is with... Oh, crap. Is that with Paramount or with Lionsgate? Give me a second to double check that. I think it's with Lionsgate. Am I got that right? Let's see. The Grudge. And it's... by the way, Grudge not going to be number one this week. Sony. Oh, no. Grudge is Sony. Now, fortunately, Grudge isn't made on a lot, so it will probably reap a little bit of a profit for Sony. I've noticed that, too. Sony seems to be the trailblazers during the year because they opened up last year with Escape Room. So, who knows? Till then, though, that is the end of the year box office report. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review at some point. Ideas for who would win. Star Wars, Superhero, Magic, What If, anything new on the channel. Put that in the comments below. Let me know. I'll get to that at some point. Tomorrow is just the box office because I did the What If. It's recorded. I'm just going to put it up as soon as I'm done this. I don't know if I'm going to do my top 10 tomorrow. I'm thinking I might do my top 10 tomorrow. At least one of them. Either the worst or the best. One of the two. But it just keeps me active during the day. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you folks next time. Have a good one.